Hello, my lovely ones. Welcome back to Life and Living with Samson Olatunji. It's really great to know you are still there for me and with me. I cannot thank you enough for subscribing to this channel of ours, giving the videos your likes and comments, as well as your invaluable pieces of advice online and offline. I can never take you and your kindness for granted. May you and your endeavors too never lack encouragers. We shall continue to look into those vital recipes for the continuous improvement of our good life. And what we want to critically examine now is not an exception. This time we are starting with the story of a man that mistakenly took a cub, that is a baby tiger, home, thinking it was a beautiful puppy. He loved this supposed puppy and fed it so regularly that it grew rapidly. The tiger too reciprocated with unalloyed loyalty. Because it was nurtured like a dog, it grew up behaving exactly like one, eating with its owner and running errands for him joyfully. His neighbors warned him several times, but he would not listen to them. When they realized that the animal had been friendly for about 3 years, they gave in to his argument. They became convinced that the animal might not be harmful after all. However, one fateful day, the innate tendency of the tiger was triggered by certain events. It thus tore the man's only son into pieces and ate him up while the man was away on a journey. It then awaited the man's arrival patiently. As soon as the unsuspecting man entered his compound, the animal of prey pounced on him, tore him up, and ate him up before jumping out to continue its ravenous exploits in the community. Before it was eventually overpowered and killed a few days later by a team of hunters, quite a number of the community members had fallen prey to the animal. I want us to draw certain vital lessons from this narrative. First, the man's inability to properly identify the animal he took home was the genesis of unavoidable devastation. Second, he was nurturing what was to eventually destroy him because the potential destroyer looked perfectly harmless and was temporarily friendly and loyal. Thirdly, many people around the erring man also perished with him consequent upon his failure to identify and eliminate his potential destroyer. A crucial question at this juncture is there any potential destroyer of our good life that we are yet to identify and which we are ignorantly feeding and training for the day of the destruction of that good life? Many subtle vices in a person's life can be rightly likened to the tiger in our analogy. One of them, which we want to unveil today, is pride. Pride is generally described as the state of feeling more important than other people, thinking more highly of oneself than one actually is, a sense of excessive self-importance. Do you feel more important than other people? Then you need to think of the warning, pride goes before a fall. I'm sure the thought of a fall is far from being appealing to you. Pride is also known as arrogance, self-importance, conceit, grandiosity, hubris, and narcissism. Before we continue, we must not be ignorant of the fact that there has never been any case of absolute synonymy in any language. Therefore, none of the synonyms is exactly the same as pride. This is why someone can say, I'm proud of so 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 so, but never I'm arrogant about so and so. That's where the hiding place for arrogance is. Many arrogant people think they manifest simple, positive, and legitimate pride, so they fail to see the red flag warning them about their imminent fall. Pride can have both positive and negative connotations, while the others are just negative vices but not virtues. Another truth that can make the vice called pride elusive is in the fact that there is something regarded as positive and legitimate or authentic pride. Legitimate and positive pride is a builder rather than a destroyer. For example, positive pride can help one to stick to the decision not to indulge in some demeaning acts, no matter how many people see such acts as fashionable and highly rewarding. For example, I have friends that would never defraud fellow humans, no matter the degree of internal or external pressure, because they see such acts as beneath their moral status. That's an example of positive pride. They feel too big to indulge in such immoral acts. It seems the fact that it's a portion of human nature built to legitimately accommodate positive pride is one of the factors that make many people accommodate, nurture, and relish destructive pride unawares. That was how the untamed nature of the man that welcomes keeping of pets got so outrageous that he brought in a deadly animal as a pet. Pride must be nipped in the bud. Its seed must be pulled out and burnt into ashes because if it is allowed to germinate and grow into a mighty tree, it's going to wreak more terrible havoc than can be imagined. Unfortunately, the tree of pride is growing fast unnoticed in many people's lives. They continually nurture it innocently, yes, ignorantly. Such people are like our man that mistakenly took the baby tiger home thinking it was a puppy. How then can we unveil pride and eliminate it before it kills us? We need to identify its apparent as well as its inconspicuous signs, among which are boastfulness, ingratitude, disparaging others, ever trying to prove people wrong, jealousy, enthronement of vanity, rudeness, aggression, materialism. Paradoxically, absolute rejection of material possession too can be prideful. Self pity is a disguised manifestation of pride. False humility is another disguised manifestation of pride. Excessive worries and depression, inordinate generosity, extreme hard work, worshipful concern about our physical appearance, frequent interruption of people mid sentence, with or without an apology, penchant for finishing other people's sentences for them, constant readiness to give excuses rather than apologies, acute irritability and unforgiveness, and many other subtle signs. Why must we deal ruthlessly with every tendency of pride or arrogance? First, it is the root of all manifestations of interpersonal frictions and social chaos and anarchy. Second, an arrogant person rarely receives assistance, cooperation, or sincere loyalty. Third, no arrogant person can avoid a terrible fall. If it has not happened, it is simply gathering momentum. Fourth, pride attracts avoidable battles in all spheres of human existence. Remember, the fewer your battles, the greater your energy reserves to win the unavoidable ones. Don't dispense your energy fighting avoidable battles. Fifth, pride is a heavyweight monster that we must not allow to flourish in our lives because its terrible weight can overturn the boats of our lives. How can we deal pride deadly blows then? First, learn to listen oftener than you talk. This will help you to see the little elements of pride in you through other people's lenses. Second, learn to stop taking yourself too seriously because nobody else does and nobody else will. Third, imitate Socrates. Ask the right questions. The more sincere questions you ask, the more you truly know and the wiser you become to outwit arrogance. Fourth, practice open-mindedness. Nobody knows it all. I remember an allegorical story about the tortoise that invested all his hard-earned fortunes to purchase all the wisdom from all the earth. He thought of what would be the most secure place to place the gourd in which he put all the wisdom. Then he decided to hang it on a tree. He hung a rope around his neck with the gourd attached to it. He positioned the gourd on his stomach as he tried to climb the tree. He fell down repeatedly as many times as he tried it. Mr. Snail was watching him with utmost interest all along. Mr. Snail walked up to him and said, "Mr. Tortoise, why don't you hang the gourd on your back rather than the front? By so doing, you'll be able to climb the tree to the top." After several attempts afterwards, Mr. Tortoise decided to try out Mr. Snail's advice. And it worked out. Mr. Tortoise then realized that he had not been able to buy all the wisdom of the earth. Mr. Snail, too, had his own unique wisdom. With utmost shame, Mr. Tortoise got back to the ground with the gourd of wisdom and angrily smashed it on the ground. He later realized that the peculiar piece of wisdom belonged to Mr. Snail as a result of the nature of his own shell, which is positioned on his back. This means nobody can possess infinite wisdom and nobody can be absolutely foolish. Fifth, learn not to always respond in self-defense. There is no proud person who has not been confronted with their vice by some people before. They, however, remain in the clutches of the spirit of destructive pride because they always have convincing rationales for their attitudes and actions. Sixth, make deliberate efforts to understand and imbibe true humility, which is the opposite of pride or arrogance. Your life cannot accommodate a vacuum where there must be a substance. Something must replace arrogance. If otherwise, arrogance will always come back to roost in your being if its place is vacant. Replace arrogance with humility. You can't imbibe what you don't know, however, so you must know what humility is. And to help us, someone has aptly said, and I quote, "True humility isn't thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less." Ponder that and avoid a fall. Thank you very much.